to the August 27th, 2020 meeting of the Town of Southampton Planning Board. In accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 202.1, until further notice, all of the board's meetings will be held remotely via video conference, so we ask the public to continually check the town's website for updates and new information. Please join in for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic
which stands
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. We have a full agenda posted on the town's website for today's meeting. The town's planning staff, as well as applicants and their representatives, will be participating via Zoom webinar, which is being moderated by CTV. Charles Sturton will be muting and holding the speakers in a virtual waiting room until it's their time to give testimony before the board. A reminder that applicants and their agents should state their name and address for the record. As is typical, there are no public comments allowed during the daytime meetings, and there is no public meeting this evening. The link to participate in this meeting via Zoom can be found on the town's website. This meeting is also being live streamed on the town's website on the town clerk's meeting portal. If you are having difficulty accessing the meeting, please visit the town clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. Board members who must recuse themselves from any application will state so on the record and will be removed from the meeting until the end of the discussion and vote on the application. Finally, in accordance with the governor's order, this meeting will be recorded and transcribed at a later date and will be made available to the public. May we have a roll call, Mr. Secretary?
Yes, ma'am. Chair LaFaro.
Present.
Vice Chair Finnerty. Board Member Blaney.
Present.
Board Member Long.
Present.
Board Member Burke.
Present.
Board Member Zuccarelli. And the Secretary is here. We have a full board.
John, you're muted.
John, you're muted.
And so is Dennis.
Do we have some minutes to approve?
Yes, we do. We have the minutes of July 9, 2020.
July 9. We have a motion to accept minutes. Motion by Dennis, and by Gloria, and all in favor. Opposed, abstentions. We're going to go in order. The first is Anthony. Oh, are we having a work session, Anthony?
Yes, I believe, I'm not sure if he's here, but Tim McCulley was supposed to be here at 2 today.
Charles, is Tim McCulley in the waiting room?
Maybe, and Kieran Murphy also, perhaps.
Takes a second.
Okay.
I see Tim.
Okay, so we'll go out of the regular session, close out, and go into the afternoon work session.
All right.
Aaron,
All right.
lot
Yep.
3.
Yep. And Tim McCulley is representing the applicant. This is a property on Millstone Road in Noyak. I have the aerial up here. It was a lot that was created as part of a subdivision in 1986. I forget the name of the subdivision, but Tim will have that information. As part of the subdivision, it required a common driveway that you can see right here to serve the subject property, the property over here, and this property here. The common driveway has been installed and is functioning for all 3 lots. The applicant for this property here submitted a request to amend the covenant to eliminate the requirement for the common driveway and to allow the driveway to come, off Millstone Road, which would also require an amendment to the covenant because there's a 100-foot buffer along Millstone Road here. So here's a survey. You have Millstone Road over here. This is where the flag lot comes in, the common driveway comes in, and you can see it comes up and then provides access to the lot. They're showing a new driveway coming through this buffer. As you can see, there's steep slopes there as well. The applicant submitted this as a request for a covenant amendment, but given this is a buffer, a covenanted buffer, there was a common driveway, there's steep slopes. I suggested they come in and speak to the planning board because I think there's issues with this. So the applicant's here to discuss this request with the board.
And the basic question, the
Sure.
common driveway would still be used for the other 2 lots?
Correct. That's correct.
Thank you.
Tim, are you here? Tim McCulley?
Trying to get him on.
He's muted.
You hear me now?
Yes.
We can hear you now. We can't see you, but
I don't know why. I can see all of you, and I was on before, but, my computer was rebooting there for a while, so I missed Anthony's presentation. But basically, this subdivision was approved in '86 on Millstone Road. There was 2 declarations on here. One was a conservation easement up in the corner of the property, basically where the arrow is now. And whoever built this property, it was prior to my client buying the property, put the house kind of backwards. So when you come in the common driveway for 3, 4, and 5, you wind up coming right by the backyard where the pool is and other amenities for the backyard. And we're trying to get the driveway where it's more appropriate, which is in the front of the house. And that's what the application is for. And I understand there's a 100-foot scenic easement on that property, but what we would do was revegetate the existing driveway in exchange for putting the driveway where it should be now. I've walked the street from Noyak down to this property. It's a clear view. It shouldn't affect anything. There are other driveways across the street which have greater slopes than this. We put the driveway and worked it out to minimize those slopes. And of course, whatever the engineering department would want, that's what we would do.
So Tim, let me ask you a question. You're saying that your applicant is now accessing the house so that it's in the rear. Why couldn't your applicant come in the front? I mean, come in a shorter distance, yeah. Is that
What?
you, Anthony, directing that little?
Yeah,
cursor?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm trying
No,
to.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're following what I'm saying.
Yeah, where is the driveway now? If you can, because
The driveway is a common driveway.
that part I understand, but from the common driveway to the applicant's home, where does it go?
follow Anthony's cursor.
It's
Well,
coming
the
up.
whole way down. He could
yeah,
enter the
basically, and then-
property at any point.
And then he pulls in by the pool. Can you see the pool?
Yep.
Right
Okay, that's where the driveway comes in now. And
Is
what we
there a
want to
garage?
do
Is there a garage to the house?
no.
Tim, my question is, you mentioned the conservation easement in the corner here, and I saw that on the subdivision map, the
Yep.
conservation easement right back here, I think. I don't remember if this in the front was a 100-foot covenanted buffer only, or if there was an easement there. My reading of
It's called the scenic easement, but basically it's part of a declaration which the planning board has a right to change. It's not a conservation easement.
okay.
So what is it, Anthony? A buffer, a 100-foot buffer, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 100-foot covenanted buffer. There's a declaration of covenants and restrictions that include a buffer.
The CNR calls it a conservation buffer. But it is designed as a CNR. They call it a conservation buffer.
Yeah.
Do we know what was the reasoning for instituting it?
Well, my guess is a couple of reasons. Probably the wooded nature of Stone Road and the slopes. You can see here, we have some slope issues at an elevation of 64 up here to an elevation of 74 up here. So there's a 10-foot, increase from, this point here to this point here. There is a concern with the slopes in there.
Plus, Millstone is a main north-south artery. It's good planning to minimize curb cuts on a very busy artery.
Right.
Cars zoom up there. Going back to Jackie's comments, Tim, why can't you use the same common driveway and cut in front of the house? Is Tim still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm not
Why
sure
can't
what
you
you're
cut in front of the
asking.
house?
Use the same common driveway and go where?
In front of the house instead of behind the house.
I
Because
think,
it's
Dennis, they built right up until the buffer line might be the issue.
yes.
Well, we can modify that buffer. You can modify that
it by 10 feet or so you can.
Yeah.
do it.
Right.
and get revegetation back here in the back.
Yeah, they're much better solution than impacting the buffer and the slopes.
Well, how would you want to do that?
Anthony, can you show them on the cursor?
Yeah.
Yeah, the buffer comes right up to here.
Yeah,
And I guess what they're saying is that they could shorten the buffer, decrease its width, by however much, and then come in, through the front here.
okay,
Yes.
And then revegetate the back.
Right.
okay.
And then revegetate back here.
Would that work?
I don't know. It's certainly an alternative, and if that's the way the board's leaning, then I've been around long enough to know what my alternatives are.
Yeah, it would minimize impact on the slopes, Tim, and also Millstone. Millstone. We all know. I know Millstone. It's a race.
It's a road, yeah.
And it's a racetrack.
It's a racetrack. I understand.
Every back road is.
Bring it to your client. If it's agreeable, sketch something out, and then we'll come back for another work session. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
Tim.
Thanks,
Thank
Tim.
you.
All right, everybody stay safe.
You too.
Thanks, Tim.
Stay retired.
I don't know what happened to my, there I am. Am I on now?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, now we see you. Yes.
Yeah, at the end.
At the end.
Well,
Yeah. All
It's
right.
fun.
Thank you very much for your time. Stay
thank
safe.
you.
Well.
You too.
Do.
Bye.
So closing the work session and going back into the afternoon session, we have number 2, Matthew, Seascape Condominium Corp.
Yep. Charles, can you let in Robert Gaudioso, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, I'll pull up the screen while he's coming in. Everybody see that?
Yes.
All right, while we wait for Robert, I'll give you guys a brief introduction. This is a existing condominium complex at 539 Dune Road in West Hampton. It's actually in the town's jurisdiction. It's between West Hampton Beach and West Hampton Dunes out on the Barrier Beach. It does not have existing site plan approval. What they're seeking to do now is they're not doing any change to the structure. They're doing facade improvements. They're going to replace the siding, the decking, some stairs, windows, and doors within this. So the applicant is requesting expedited review in regard to that. That would just be not holding a hearing. Traditional referrals would still be sent out. They're just asking for the board to waive the hearing. I do have plans attached. It's going to be a significant improvement to what's there. And I'll let Robert speak to the rest of it. I don't know if the board has any questions.
I do. Are you showing us as is or what?
This
will
is
be?
what's proposed. So what's there now, Jackie? It's gray lap siding, and they're proposing a cedar appearing siding. It's going to be up with some white AZEK trim also. The railing is going to be different. In terms of the deck, they're not building any.
Did they give us a rendering of that?
Yes.
Can we see that?
So it's black and white, but this is what it's going to look like. Unfortunately, we can't do a color scan of this size, but it'll go to the ARB. It's a light cedar color, a gray color. It's a painted gray now, I believe. Is that correct, Robert?
Yeah, so right now, the condominium dates to the late 60s, early 70s. The siding was last changed 20 some odd years ago. It was a gray vinyl siding. It completely washed out. It's almost whitish gray now. What we're proposing is vinyl again, but the new Certainteed vinyl. It looks like cedar shake. It's a driftwood blend, so it's still in that gray family. More importantly, the stairs are all being replaced in kind with wood stairs. We have a lot of second stories, and the stairs are just very dangerous and old. They haven't been replaced ever. The railings are all substandard. They're basically wood frame with.
Say on that, can you just leave that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they have chicken wire around the railings. A lot of them are in 36 inches. The wood is rotted out. Really, what we have is a big problem with leaks in the building, being down on the ocean. The windows are leaking, the doors are leaking, the siding is blowing off, the railings are literally collapsing. So we're not changing the footprint at all. We're just replacing the siding with a vinyl siding that's a modern siding, replacing the doors and windows that are leaking, redoing the railings. As far as the decks are staying the same. We are replacing the top wood deck boards in kind with wood, just pressure treated wood, nothing fancy. Really just bringing it up for safety and health and safety reasons.
So Matthew, why does this fall under or a request for expedited review rather than site plan review?
This is the applicant's request. They're just under a timeline. They'd like to start as soon as possible to get this work done. I mean, it sounds like it's a safety issue, and it would just be waiving the hearing. I don't know what the public impact of this would be, in terms of what the public's concern might be. If they're just, there's going to be no increase in units, no change in tenancy. This is just facade and safety upgrades.
Well, we've had some history of facade changes where once it's started, it goes way beyond facade. So yeah. If there would be a way that we could get a report on this, say 3 months in from the start of the work, so that we can keep track of what's happening.
Yeah, that's up to the board. I mean, it's held in, it's a condo. So each, from what I understand, each person owns their individual wall. So I think it would be difficult to change any of the footprints, but I'm sure once the work starts, the applicant would be willing to, give us an update if that's what the board's looking for.
I would feel comfortable with that on an expedited review.
Yeah, we have no problem with that. We can put together photographs. Obviously, we still have to get a building permit, but we're really trying to get this work started with the hurricane season coming and all the leaks. But we have no problem providing photographs, at a 3-month basis or something like that to show how it's coming along. We think obviously it's going to be, aesthetically a big improvement, but more importantly, functionally and safety-wise, it's really time, and everyone realizes that.
It's pretty extensive. Do you have a sense of timing?
So we're hoping to be able to pull a building permit and be able to get started by November 1st. Last winter, I wish we were doing it last winter. We had great weather down there, but we're really weather dependent. Our goal is to be finished by no later than May 15th. Hopefully it could happen quicker than that. We're pretty confident in that. We have final contractor selected. We're just waiting to sign the contract based on getting this approval, obviously, being able to get a building permit, obviously. So we think we're going to get it done this winter. That's the goal.
Thank you.
I actually have 2 questions, Matt.
Sure.
I don't understand the difference between this expedited versus a site plan, because I thought you said at the beginning that it doesn't have site plan approval right now.
It currently doesn't. It has approval for the condo complex. It doesn't have an existing site plan. So that's generally why the board would see that now, because it has to come in for a site plan. The only thing that's going to make it expedited is not having a hearing. There would still be a public comment period of 30 days. They just would not, have to wait, for to get on the calendar for a hearing and then have the public comment period after that. That's the the expedited process. All other review aspects are the same. We still make the same referrals. Any referrals the board wants to make, we can still make. It's just a public hearing that's going to change.
Well, thank you for that clarification. My other question is, does this facility currently have an IA system or some sort of better, because it's in a high water quality area?
I don't believe so.
And if it is not, I know that there are rules about what you do to require certain things you do to a structure to require that you have to put it in. Does this fall into that category?
I'm not sure, but I can find out. I don't know if this falls into, substantial improvements, but that's an easy answer to get.
It sounds like it if every window is being replaced.
We're not replacing every window.
It's not every window. It's only windows that need to be replaced, doors that need to replace, decking that needs to replace.
All right, Matthew, I think this is confusing. Gloria, and thank you for asking the question. Expedited review, as this board knows it, is changing siding.
That's what this is.
Changing a port, yes, but this is a very extensive building. And we usually get a very detailed list of exactly what's going to happen. How many windows, for example. I also assumed every window was being changed.
We actually
Dennis, maybe you can help weigh in on this. I mean, we've had some experience with expedited review. So it's not really an expedited review. It's expedited site plan review, or I'm confused.
It's expedited review, and as I said, it's the same review process. He's just asking for the hearing requirement to be waived.
Yeah.
And we do have that schedule. We did submit it with the original set of plans. So we have a schedule showing all the windows and doors and all the windows and doors that'll be replaced. They're all being, it's only about 50% of them. It's only in kind. It's only the ones that are leaking and damaged that we have a current leaking problem. We're concerned about, infiltration of water and mold issues, and we don't want it to get, obviously, we don't want to have those problems.
John Blaney, I just want to jump in for a second. The neighbors down in this area are not going to object at all. They'll be thrilled that this whole place gets fixed up. It's an old frame condominium building from the 70s, early 70s. And get that stuff fixed. It may not last through this weekend.
So what's the story on the IA system that Glorian asked about?
Are you asking
Robert, do you know anything about that?
Not really.
No.
So I can speak to that.
Yes.
On, chapter 123-52A requires a new IA system for all new residential construction, or an increase of 25% or more in the floor area of the building, or if it's required by the health department. So given this explanation, I don't believe it fits that criteria.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, we're not changing the floor area whatsoever.
May I ask, is any of the outdoor lighting being changed?
It's being upgraded, Robin, and it's coming into code compliance.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so you have a list of everything that has to happen. So maybe in 3 months, you're going to not start until November, right? Robert?
So our original goal was October 15th. If we were able to receive approval from this board, hopefully in September, and we would figure we would need at least 30 days with the building department. That brings us to middle to late October. So we're thinking November 1st based on that.
So I think if we can get a report, an updated report as they move along, I think that would be helpful to us so that we keep track of it.
Yep. And we'd be happy to do
Yeah,
that.
Jackie, they couldn't start construction or anything until after, the board gives approval, but I can get a detailed list from Robert exactly. That's simple, rather than having to dig through the plans exactly. How many windows, how many doors, etc.
What about referrals? You said you were going to send out referrals?
Yep, same referrals we send, whatever's required. It's going to be the
So
same.
do they have to wait for those referrals to come in?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
same timelines. It's just, he's asking for the hearing to be waived. That's the only difference.
May I also ask, has there been any street flooding problems in this area into any of these parking lots or in the adjacent area?
No, we've been very fortunate. I can tell you further to the west, there's been some flooding, but that's in the village. We're actually, I don't know if you know this particular slice of town, but
Yeah,
it's in a very small slice on Dune Road between the village of West Hampton and West Hampton Dunes. And we just happened to fall in. We're diagonally across from John Scott's, if you know that area.
yeah, I do. That's why I was just asking, because while you're doing this, you know, if there's been repeated flooding problems, but
No, we've been very lucky, and we were very lucky in Gloria. I'm sorry, Sandy. We didn't have any water problems. We've been fortunate.
okay, thank you.
Do we have, I did one last question on it.
Sure.
Is there sufficient space here for a construction truck to come in? Because obviously facade is going to have to be taken out.
Yeah, as you can see, there's, you know, they have parking in the front, and they do work on the side as far as that. Yeah,
And
so-
we're seasonal,
Right,
so
yeah.
that's why we wanted to start, you know, October 15th, November 1st, and
Most
finish
of the
up.
people will be gone from there.
Correct. That's our goal.
Okay. So if there are no other questions, we'll take a vote on this. Seascape condominium, expedited review completeness or site plan. It's an odd thing. Moved by Dennis, second
Second,
by Zuccarelli, that is?
yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions?
I would like to see exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
I want to know how many windows, how many doors.
He said, Robert said they submitted that. It just hasn't been presented to us by Matthew.
Yep.
Yeah, it just needs, I mean, they're substantial. It's 40 pages of plans. But we'll get Robert to get us a nice
A
tight-
running list,
Yes, absolutely.
40 windows, that, you know.
Of the percentage as well, absolute and percentage. So, you know, is it every, or is it 80%, or is it 20?
Yeah,
I would find that helpful.
I'm sure Robert can get that for us.
I'm assuming they have to have that, so.
Can you get it to us, Matthew?
Absolutely.
Can you
As
get it?
soon as I get it from Robert, I will distribute.
Okay. Did we take a vote on this?
You did.
It did.
And I'm yes now.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Have a nice Labor Day holiday.
thank you.
Thanks, Robert.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
3 is 56 Ridge Road. It's an extension. Matthew?
Yes, Charles, can you let Alexandra Halsey Storch in, please?
No way.
Like the price is right. Come on
Come
down.
on down. All right. We have seen this application a number of times before. This is their 7th request for a 90-day extension. That's why I did ask
Oh, boy.
the applicant's representative to come in. I figured, you know, member Keith would be curious to what is going on.
Curious.
It's at 56 Bridge Road and 95 Sugarloaf Road. It's a lot line modification where, you know, this portion of the property is going to this property and the back is going to this one. There's a Botanical Land Trust easement. Last we spoke with the applicant, they were at the health department. As far as I know, that's where they still are, but I will let the applicants, you know, give the board an update and then we can go from there.
Hi there. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Can you give us your name, please, and affiliation?
Alexandra Halsey Storch from Toomey Latham. Good afternoon. Yes, as Matthew indicated, this is there's been a bit of a delay on this matter. There was some back and forth with the health department after your resolution was issued. We went right to the health department. They indicated that there was an open application from 2006, which we've been trying to resolve since then, or since your resolution was issued. We have successfully gotten their sign off on a survey. Our client is moving forward, and so we should have their final approval probably within the next couple of weeks or so. And so we are moving along.
So,
Can
so
you-
what are we asking for? Another 90 days?
Yes, another 90-day extension.
Did you say there was something in 2006?
Yeah, there was an open application from 2006, which was from before our client even owned the property. It turns out that the health department had not signed off on the location of the septic system. So the survey that we had submitted to the health department has gone through a few revisions because they didn't like the location. A second location was going to cause too much shifting in the property. So we finally have found a location for the system that satisfies the health department and is appropriate for our client's property. So next is just the proper installation.
So the health department has approved it,
Yes.
and now it's just installation.
Yes.
Is this an IA system of any kind?
I don't know.
Septic?
I don't know that. I don't know.
Matthew, do you know? It's in a,
Not off the top of my head. I mean, that's really for the health department to determine. I don't believe one was required. I mean, this might even, I mean, they were essentially closing out an old application. They're not doing any new septic systems that I know of.
well, yes, she's talking
that
about
they're
a
doing a new
newly
one? Okay,
designed,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't know that it's a new one or not. It wasn't considered as part of our application. This was, a land transfer that I guess now they have to redesign their septic system. I don't know if it's an IA or not.
Well, it's because this request is so old now.
Yes. Yeah, we first considered this back on July 12th of 2018. That's when this received approval. So,
And we approved just a land transfer.
correct. And
But-
their issue with the septic came about because there was an old open permit that never got closed out by a previous owner.
And the
Typically, if it was a land transfer with the health department, they would receive an exemption because, it's not involving any new construction, et cetera. But because this was hanging out there in the ether, essentially, they had to address that before the health department would take any action on the transfer.
Madam Chair, if I may, I just looked on GIS, and this parcel is just south of the medium priority zone and more so south of the high priority zone. So they're not required to put one in pursuant to the maps.
Good, thank you, Kathleen, thanks.
I'm still a little confused, Matthew, about this original health department. What was it for?
I mean, it wasn't any part of an application before this board. It was most likely for a single family house that they never closed out, essentially. So when they tried to do this, the health department says, we're not doing anything on this until you fix this original problem.
Well, we have one house, right? And then
There's
the other
two.
is vacant property.
Vacant, correct. So yeah.
So I'm confused. Where did that application come from? Was it for this?
I'm sure it was for this house. I mean, because there's nothing, like you said, there's nothing on this parcel. And if the health department never approved the location, they make the determination in terms of location and design of all septic systems. So if they never approved it, they wouldn't issue any approval in regard to the transfer. So they said, basically finish your original application and then they can consider, from what I understand, from what's being told, that they can finish with the transfer.
So Alexander said that it's all done with the health department now.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
So that application is closed? And this can go forward?
Yes, that's right.
So
And
basically,
do we still need a 90-day extension?
Yeah, I mean, they're at signature deadline. The maps have not been submitted. I would need to review them to make sure everything, they meet all the mapping requirements that were, required as a condition of approval. So there's
Can
a
they
level.
do it in 30 days? Can they do it in 30 days?
I don't believe 30 days would be sufficient. The health department signed off on the survey. They still have to complete the work. And then the health department comes back and does the inspection. And then they can proceed with their review of the lot line.
Take some time. You
Yeah,
could be looking at an 8th extension.
forget about the extension for the moment. What work needs to get done? Are you suggesting that they have to put in a new septic system? Because the one that
Can I intervene here? Because I've dealt with this with the health department a lot. Regardless of what happened in 2006, they might have applied to do something to this property, add bedrooms, something that required a new septic system. But that's irrelevant. It's old, and they probably had it out with the health department. The health department, when reviewing a lot line change modification that has existing structures on them, in this case there is one, they will look at the existing septic system. If the existing septic system doesn't comply with the standards today, they will require that the septic systems be upgraded before they consider approving the lot line change. So when they submitted this application for the lot line change, the health department came back and said, you need, to address the septic system on this property. It doesn't conform to today's standards. So they had to go in, submit an application, a separate application to upgrade the septic system. And that's where they're in the process now, is closing that out. They installed the septic system, apparently. The health will go out and do the inspection, and they have to file whatever final paperwork to close out the health department. Once they close out that application for the upgraded septic system, then they will continue processing the application for the lot line change.
So what I think I'm hearing you say is that they actually had to move, replace, or change the system.
Correct.
Because
that's correct.
It doesn't comply with today's standards, and maybe doesn't comply because of the lot line modification.
Not necessarily because of lot line modification, but just this is why they, the lens was on them, because they said, oh, it either doesn't comply, needs to be changed. So they're not going to take any action on the review of the lot line modification until they correct their current problem. That's what's taking so long.
Okay.
Okay, that's clear. That's a clear explanation. Thank you. Thank you, Anthony.
No problem.
He's a resident expert with the health department.
So this
will be an extension from August 29th to November 27th of 2020.
any other?
I'm not convinced that you're going to get this done within 90 days.
Yeah. Health department is just backed up, right?
Just like the toilet.
Well, I think that's the maximum you can give us.
Yeah, I think you have to do them in 90-day increments.
90-day increments, yeah.
Well, yeah, you're right. But, maybe we should give them 2, and that way we don't have to have this on our agenda.
One more time. All
Yeah,
right.
I mean that would be an option. There would just be an additional fee involved, as far as I know. But I could be wrong if it would fall under the same thing.
Well, if they're amenable to that, I for one would rather
Give them 2 90 days. Yeah.
And but beyond that, 2 90 days extensions, I'd be reluctant to grant another one.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult when we're beholden to another, reviewing authority, because our action was pretty simple, but nothing can be done on this until we have health department approval, until their sign off is in place.
Well, I think a 2 90-day extension makes sense. Otherwise, we have more paperwork, more administrative work.
Correct.
How do you feel about that, Alexander?
I think that would probably be fine with our client. He's interested in moving this as quickly as your board is. Unfortunately, it's just been a calamity of bad information. So,
so are there any other questions?
Once this part of the project is completed, there really shouldn't be much more left to do. It should go pretty quickly after that. So I'm sure two 90-day extensions would be welcomed, and that way we should be done by then.
Dennis, what do you think?
I'm good with the, I feel bad for the, they're captive by an agency, and I just know what's going on in the health department. It's, sympathize with the applicant.
So shall we have a motion for 2 90-day extensions?
Yeah, Jackie, I can have it written as 180 days, and then I'll revise it to have the correct date.
Okay, 180 days. Can I have a
I'll-
motion?
I'll move that.
Moved by Phil, second by
Second.
Gloria. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? That's it. You have two 90-day extensions, Alexandra.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey, Anthony, you have Production Holdings,
Yes.
another extension.
Yeah, well, this one's a little bit easier, I think, but it's actually just so you know, we're going to do number 4 and number 18 on the agenda because they're sort of the same project,
Okay.
It's only the 12th, only the 12th extension.
Yeah, no. This was a 2-lot subdivision that we looked at a couple of years ago. It's on Station Road in West Hampton. It's got a couple things going on here. It's got an existing residence here, an existing residence here. I believe a concrete structure back here, and what was a barn back here, which I believe was illegally converted to a single-family residence. This is CO'd as a residence. This is CO'd as a residence. This is CO'd as a barn, and this is CO'd as, I believe, a concrete accessory building. Although it's shown as 2 lots on the tax map, the property is actually just 1 lot. And they had come in for a 2-lot subdivision to have, the 1 house over here, the 1 house over here, an accessory structure back here, and then even though this is a house, they would need to convert it to an accessory structure back here. But anyway, they came in to, rectify some of these issues on 2-lot subdivision. A couple of years ago, we prepared a report. This is going to require all sorts of relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals. We prepared a report, which I did send to you guys with this application, which identified the issues. Mostly what the planning board said was, we have no objections, but the planning board has no objections to creating 2 lots because you have a legal house for a CO and a legal house over here. But we said that we would object to a second residence being permitted on this. We didn't want any density increase, and that this would have to be addressed as well, and that we would not support a second residence over here. So anyway, we identified all the issues which were identified in the report that I sent you, including issues with access, setbacks, and uses. And it looks like the pre-app report subsequently expired. It was extended once and then expired in 2019, I believe, October of 2019. The applicant subsequently submitted the application to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Zoning Board of Appeals have referred the application to this board for comments. That's when I realized that our pre-app report was expired, because when we adopted the pre-app report a couple of years ago, you had indicated in the report that it was going to serve as your comments to the Zoning Board of Appeals. So, so we got the request from the Zoning Board. I see that the pre-app report was expired, so I advised the applicant accordingly, and they submitted the request to do an extension of the pre-app report to waive the policy to extend it another year to October of 2021, and then we would send the report off to the Zoning Board of Appeals because it already identifies all the issues as part of the subdivision. So that's a synopsis of what we have going on here. I believe Jim Hume is the applicant representing the project, and then any questions the board has.
So we have to first extend the pre-app for a year?
It would be an extension and a waiver of the pre-app policy, which would bring it to October 26th of 2021. And again, this was a case where I think the pre-app report did a good job of identifying the issues. It was very clear about what the planning board would support here, which is basically 2 single-family residences and no additional density.
And what was the reasoning and argument about 3 curb cuts? What looks to me like 3 curb cuts instead of 2?
Yeah, we would have to, I do say we have to address the access as part of this application, because it sort of functions as almost like an estate. Everything is sort of from the curb cut here, but we would have to address this. We wouldn't allow, I think the 2 curb cuts. I think we would modify this, to have the one serving both lots. But we would have to address the curb cuts.
Is this kind of like a family compound, or the 2 owners?
My guess is that I believe it's under the Chechernian family.
Yeah, it looks like all those roads and driveways are accessing 4 houses, not 2. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and and the planning board says, in no uncertain terms, that they wouldn't support additional density. So, but the other side of it, and why I think they could be converted, is because the buildings themselves are in fact CO'd. So one is CO'd as a barn, and one is CO'd as a concrete, I believe, accessory structure, maybe a garage. So the buildings themselves are CO'd. So they have some legal standing there. The planning board's concern is that we don't want them as a single-family residences, i.e. 4 houses on 2 lots. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
yeah, how do you prevent that?
The reality is, well, it's part of the subdivision process. You would only be approving 2 single-family residences. They would have to get relief from the zoning board to allow the 2 other additional residences, which you've already indicated you would not support. Whether or not they're successful with the zoning board, I don't know, but I believe could be contingent upon there be 2 single-family residences as a 2-lot subdivision in the R40 zoning district, and you are approving 2 with 2 potentially accessory structures.
But you indicated that they're in front of the ZBA now, and the reason ZBA can't act.
That's correct.
All right, so what are they in front of the ZBA for?
I believe setback relief. I'd have to go back and look. And Jim Hume is here, so maybe Jim Hume could clarify. Is Jim here?
He was typing in the chat, Anthony. So
Coming in. He's coming in.
Yeah. His comment was back left is a garage.
So our question is, what is your request at the ZBA?
Well, there's pages and pages of relief that we were seeking from them. Part of the delay in getting whatever relief they're ultimately willing to grant us there was the ultimate decision to handle this as 3 separate zoning board applications as opposed to one inclusive application. So we have one application before the zoning board seeking just the relief necessary to create the lots. I think there's some maybe some lot width information associated with that. And then we have 2 separate applications, one for each of the separate lots, seeking various relative to the structures that would then would be located on the 2 lots, including setback relief. Obviously, the 2 buildings in the back, whatever they may ultimately be allowed to be, are much too close. There's pyramid relief necessary for those buildings, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a lot of stuff, but most of it's pre-existing. So.
Yeah, but Jim, are you, this presumably, according to the report that we prepared, this structure back here was CO'd as a barn. It's my understanding that it's a single-family residence. Are you asking the zoning board to give you 2 residences on this property?
We're asking the zoning board to give us an accessory apartment there under the accessory apartment code.
But it's a whole
with all of the restrictions that come along with that. And the other building, the other building is a storage building, and we're not seeking to convert that into any form of residence. And further investigation that was conducted between the myself and the zoning board, we concluded that structure in the back left, as you're facing it, is not the structure that was there. It's not the structure that was covered by the CO. The structure that was covered by the CO actually crossed the property lines between our west lot and the lot further to the west. And so as a requirement of an earlier subdivision, that building was supposed to have been removed, and ultimately it was removed and replaced by this building, which is solely on our property.
But doesn't have required setbacks.
It doesn't have required CO, so we are seeking variance relief relative to that as well from the zoning board.
Anthony, I'd like to make a suggestion for an addition to our report that was produced a while ago. And
Sure.
That would be to say that the planning board would prefer that this all gets put into one application to the ZBA so that they could see the total complexity of what the applicant is trying to do, as opposed to making decisions, not knowing the other three pieces that are coming from it. I don't know if anybody else on the planning board agrees with that, but that's just my opinion.
The zoning board has all three applications. All three applications are currently pending before the zoning board, and the zoning board is conducting, we've had one hearing so far, but they are reviewing it as a whole. But just as a matter of procedure, the board attorney thought it best to subdivide the application into the three components. But all three are currently in front of the board, and all three are being reviewed by the board simultaneously.
Right. It's because they're separate lots, Glorian, but they'll certainly be considered together. It's just from a legal perspective, they're different lots, so they have to each be a separate application. It's a formality. It's form over substance.
Yeah, I mean, then the results that I was suggesting is actually happening, so that's fine.
Yeah, you make a good point, Gloria. I've had this discussion with Katie at the ZBA. The good thing is that our report did look at it as a whole. So we identified the issues as a whole, and we're going to submit it to the zoning board as a whole. But yeah, because the properties are technically shown as two lots, the ZBA requires that the applications be submitted for each of those properties individually. But I acknowledge your concern, and that's why I thought it was okay. The report identified all the issues as a whole. So
thank you.
Noted. I agree.
Okay, so our action here is to extend the pre-app report, waive the policy, extend it for a year to
Reauthorize it.
Reauthorize it.
Yep.
And then send the report to the ZBA.
And that's correct.
And that's item number
18.
Okay, so let's do it in two motions, okay?
Yep.
The first is to waive the pre-app requirement and extend this pre-application report for a year to October 26, 2021. Moved by Dennis, seconded by, do I have a second? Gloria.
No.
All in favor?
Gloria.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay, so that's done, and let's just jump to 18, which is a ZBA referral for production holding. That we will submit the referral comments to the ZBA, the report that Anthony has that we've already done. So do I have a motion for that?
Motion.
Motion by Zuccarelli, second by Gloria. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? So that ZBA report will be sent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just so you know,
Thank you.
Just for the record, the report that you just reauthorized and extended and referred actually formed a part of my application. So I want you to understand that your comments have been before the zoning board already, but I understand the technical nature of what we had to do. So thank you very much.
Thank
Be well,
you.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Jackie, if I can just interject before you bring the
Yeah.
next applicant up. I'm standing up and down because my back's out, so I have to
Okay.
move every few minutes. So when you see me wandering around, I'm paying attention.
Not a problem. Some people disappear altogether and they come back on. So standing up is nothing.
You're just getting another beer. I know you.
Right.
It would be wine, Phil, but no.
Oh, okay.
Right. So number 5 is 19 Horse Mill Lane. Matthew?
Yes, this is for an extension of a wetlands permit associated with a deer fence application. Way back in 2017, when I first started, this is one of the first applications that I had. This is for Harry Ludlow. He's doing an ag fence to enclose his, his farm. Unfortunately, as a sign of the times of everything that's going on, he hasn't been able to finish. And while a agricultural fencing approval does not expire, a wetlands permit does. So this is a request to renew his wetlands permit. It'll be for a period of 3 years and take him to, I have it written down. I believe it's September of, 1 second, I have it in the resolution. September 28th of 2023. And you can see it on the map here. It's a large survey, but this line right here is where the fence is going to be. He just hasn't had the opportunity to finish all the work yet before his wetlands permit expires.
Has he started?
He has.
Okay, so do I have any discussion? If not, a motion?
Motion.
Motion by, who was that? Zuccarelli. Second by Robin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Okay, number 6 is 12 Foster LLC. That's Matthew, that's you again.
Yes. This is just a request for the extension of the action deadline. Wayne couldn't be present today. They have submitted plans that need to go to engineering. So they're requesting an extension until the next meeting, which will be September 10th.
Did he submit some revisions to you about their ideas?
He hasn't. I'm hesitant to really discuss it. Wayne's not present today, so I don't really want to get into too much of a discussion whether, without the benefit of him being here.
Okay, because we asked him to do that.
Yeah, we have asked him to make changes to what we have now. The changes haven't been made.
Okay, so this is an extension to September 10th. Motion?
Motion.
Dennis, motion by Dennis, second by Zuccarelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Okay, Matthew, you are again on the Canal Apartments Court.
Yes. Yep, this is Claire's application. This involves unit number 9 at 12 East Tiana Road in Hampton Bays. This, again, is just an extension of the action deadline until September 10th.
Okay, so those dates need to be put into these.
It's in the resolution.
Okay. So do I have a motion? Motion for on the Canal Apartments extension. Motion by Dennis, second by Florian. All in favor? Opposed, extension, 7 in favor.
And Jackie, number 8 is off of the agenda.
Okay, 76 Montauk Highway is off. That's that seasonal produce store. And number 9, Anthony, the Metro Storage.
Yes.
You sent around that report, which was extremely thorough. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see something. Yeah, I look like I missed. It looks like I missed the aerial here for some reason. Weird. But this was the site plan we did on Lecon Court. It was the storage building. We did it pretty recently. It was a big storage building, almost 40,000 square feet. Everything was done. The site plan was approved. The final maps were approved and revised by the town engineer. We stamped the plans. The building permit was subsequently issued. I believe they started construction on the property. They started removing the top 18 inches of soil, and they came across arsenic, my understanding is. The applicant's representatives immediately got in touch with me and the town engineer because they knew that their SWIP and their soil management plan that was previously approved by the town engineer would need to address the contaminated soil. So what they did was they prepared a soil management plan, and the applicant's representative is here to discuss this board. The management plan has been reviewed by our town engineer, and he had just a few minor comments. It looks like they're proposing to bury it on site. And again, we'll have the applicant discuss it with the board. The only thing that the town engineer is asking for from the planning board is if you could put some type of notice covenant advising the future property owners of the pit that will be buried on site. That was his only recommendation for the planning board, which I'll let you have the discussion with.
No, we would do that, Anthony, because we did it in another application that it has to be in the
in the covenant. Yeah. So the applicant's representative is here to discuss this with the board, and then we'll take any questions you have.
What's the name?
I have to look here. I believe it's Ben Plum.
Say it again.
Ben.
I have no Ben.
No one here?
No, Ben Plum.
Is there a name on the letter, Anthony?
Oh, well, the person who submitted it was Benjamin Plum. And I sent him the link. I thought he indicated he would be here.
We have a chat coming in.
Yeah, Anthony, you have Phil.
I have a person named Phil.
Yeah.
Who do you have? I'm sorry.
Phil Butler.
Oh, okay. Maybe Phil's involved with this, perhaps.
He can speak to it. That's why he's in the chat.
All right, we'll get Phil.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Hey, Phil.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. Thank you for taking this application. I apologize, I'm not as well versed in this application as I should be. My client just contacted me yesterday evening to ask me to kind of pinch hit for this one. I don't have anything to add to, sorry, go ahead.
Can you please tell us your name?
Yes,
And affiliation?
Philip Butler, Farrell Fritz, 100 Motor Parkway in Hauppauge.
Thank you.
Sorry. So I understand the situation. I have nothing to add to the update that Anthony gave you. My client understands the situation and is on board with the town engineer's recommendations. My sole purpose really for appearing here today is just to communicate to the board that with the remediation plan hopefully being approved, we're hoping to get back to work very, very soon because we are currently under a stop work order because of the contamination. And with everything going on, the longer that they're prevented from doing work, any number of things can happen. So we're hoping the board will approve the plan. If you want the notice covenant, my client is of course amenable to that. We just want to get back to work. So that's really all I have to say to the board.
Anthony, could you just tell me, how did the arsenic, is that natural or was there a contamination from a prior use? What
agriculture, Robin?
Yeah, I'm sure it's all related to previous agriculture. The area was, heavily farmed back in the day, so that's where it's from.
Okay,
the town engineer's comments mentioned pesticide, so that's consistent with agricultural use.
Yeah, the report clearly states that it was caused by agricultural use.
Thank you.
We've done this before. Like I said, the town engineer has, I've been working with him. He's been looking at it. He gave them some how to address this, but largely he had no issues whatsoever with what they're proposing, other than recommending that the planning board do a notice covenant. So if the planning board is, I'm sorry, you have a question, Robin?
No.
Oh, so if the planning board is, okay with the soil management plan, subject to final approval by the engineer, approve it subject to the submission of a notice covenant for future property owners.
Good. It's a very complete report.
Yeah, it was good.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion then to, is there a full motion on this to accept this or not? It's just a
Yes, it would accept that you'd be basically revising the approved site plan to incorporate this updated soil management plan with the covenant notice coverage.
So that's the motion.
Motion.
Motion by Zuccarelli, second by Blaney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Okay. Then we're moving on to number 10, which is the old stables at Spionk. That's Anthony, that's you.
Yep.
That's an extension.
So this, we've seen this for a long time now. North Phillips Avenue in Spionk. This is the property here. We have a preliminary application for a 9-lot subdivision. Just basically a new subdivision road with all the lots and 25% open space back here. We're actually ready for the preliminary approval, but the applicant still has to submit the preliminary engineering fee, which they haven't done. So they've asked us to do an extension of the action deadline until it's actually in the Reso and the
September 24th.
September 24th, 2020.
Okay. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by Robin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor. Okay, North Side Hills, number 11, section 3. Covenant amendment. That's you, Matthew.
Yep. Charles, can you let Bernard Carwick in, please?
Yep.
Thank you. Share the screen. We have an aerial here, guys. This is the applicant's requesting a covenant amendment to allow for 50% clearing, which would follow the current APOD regulations, where the subdivision of Northside Hill Section 3 required 30% when it was filed. It's a 51,480 square foot property. It's an R80 zone in the APOD at 178 Northside Drive. The applicant did also submit a survey as part of this application that shows he's in compliance with the 50% he's under. I had the opportunity to go out there last week and check the clearing lines. Everything is good on that regard. Kathleen has reviewed the legal documents, and I do have the owner here if you have any questions for him. But this is, a typical action. We've done a number of other properties within this subdivision, within this section. I think this will be the 5th or 6th. And then there's, at least half a dozen in the other 2 as well.
So basically he would have had to re-veg.
He didn't have to re-veg as part of this, Gloria, and this was just bringing him to current code standards where, based on the size of his property, the 51,000 square foot falls into 50% as per the code. But when this subdivision was filed, it was before the chart was in place. That's in the town code. So the planning board limited it to 30%. This is just going to allow what the code allows, essentially.
If we don't amend the covenant, he would have to re-veg.
Correct.
That's that. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion to accept that we amend the covenant here to bring it up to the proper clearing? Motion by Gloria and second by somebody. Speak
Phil.
up. Phil. Second by Phil. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so 7 in favor, which is certainly sufficient for a covenant amendment. Passed. Jackie, you're number 12, the estates at Remsenburg.
Yes. Hi, how are you? Let me just share the screen.
Nice photographs, Jackie, of the
Thank you.
of the estates.
Oh, yes. Good. I'm glad you got the.
Yeah, very nice.
Let's make sure. Okay.
Although
So
sad to lose that chimney, though.
I know it came down, unfortunately.
It is down, so this was taken.
That chimney is here. There was a central chimney right here. I'm trying to pull it to full screen.
Right.
So there was a central chimney in the original main house that collapsed when they lifted the house,
Okay.
unfortunately.
So this one is secure, though.
Yes,
one
this
that's
one is
there.
fine, and this one is a replica of the previous chimney, although it was a slight modification just because of FEMA requirements and state building codes. Let me see if I can. So here's the house based upon my site visit. One of the last things I asked was that the shutters be added. They're not exactly to plan, but they are in character. They're shutters. They're not actually functional shutters, but they do give the characteristic of the previous plan. Just to let you know, oh, if you want, we can, I know the pictures are beautiful, but the first item on the agenda is actually number 12 to extend the performance bond for the Rhone drainage. So let me get you the packet. Can you all see the resolution?
No, we're still seeing the pretty picture.
Oh, really? Okay. It
Yeah.
seems to be.
All we have is a house.
Okay. So can you see now?
Nope.
Oh, it was a little delayed, so maybe it's coming up on your end because it was even a little delayed for me as well.
Well, you can speak to it, Jackie.
Jackie, do you want me to pull it up?
If you can, it's actually on my screen.
All right,
So
I'll pull it up in the packet. Just give me 1 second.
Okay. Here, let me stop the share. So anyways, actually, and if Larry Citarelli, he's the developer, if he is in the waiting room, he was trying to join the link, although he was on the road, so I will handle it if he's not present. He's aware of everything that's going on today. But for the first action item, it is for the bond, and it is to reduce the bond and extend it for 1 year. So I believe the bond is in the $400,000 range, and it will be reduced to the I think it's $325,000 range. And there are houses with C of Os. I believe there's approximately 6 houses with C of Os now. And the main historic house is going to be getting the C of O very shortly after we approve the restoration plans, which is the next item on. So this would just be a standard resolution to extend and reduce the performance bond and recommend that we get a new performance bond agreement. I am recommending for 1 year, although we have met with them in June and they've been working closely with the engineering division. So we are hoping to have things finalized. This, Jackie, if you'll recall in the staff meeting, this is the one where the road is there, it's just not the final lift, and some of the swales along the side of the road, which it was supposed to have swales to catch and direct the stormwater into the drainage structures. Some of the swales were impeded by construction of independent. Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's weird because it was showing up for me. But you'll see here, it was a $467,720,000 bond that we're holding now. Because of the improvements done, we can reduce it to $325,200. And I am recommending that this, and sorry, I have to change the date by accident. It has to be 2021 and 2021. But we're recommending that this be extended for another year. The planning board previously had extended it for 6 months in the fall of 2019. And because homes were being C of O'd and the road was still in, kind of rough condition, we gave them the 6 months. But now I've walked the site and the road is passable. It is safe, and they basically just have to clean up, and they're going to readdress whether or not they're going to have swales in all areas, and they might, stick to the conventional drainage in some other areas because of the way other houses were constructed by outside developers. So we're working with that closely with their engineer, and this would just give them another year to work on that and finalize the road improvements.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, a motion to approve this? Motion by Dennis, second by Phil. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 7 in favor.
Great.
You want to move on to 13, Jackie?
Yeah. Matt, I'll try to share again, and if it's delayed, let me know.
You got it.
Okay.
I think Larry jumped out the window.
Nice window, though.
Okay. All right, so the pictures are in a separate document that I emailed you. Here they are.
Looks really nice.
Yeah. So I just wanted to go over, You know, I did meet the Stephanie Davis. She is on the Landmarks and Historic Board, and she was very pivotal in the review of this house, which is the Abraham Halsey house, or Abram Halsey residence. We had gone over the restoration plans in detail when the application was originally approved, and then we did do a modification in September of 2017. One of the main things we requested was that this diamond tower be painted white. When they were trimming the windows and painting them black, they had painted it all black, and it really just wasn't in keeping with the historic restoration and the plans. So they did paint this within the last 2 weeks. The other items is the column details. They did provide the column details as we requested previously. They are slightly smaller when they built them than what was portrayed, but they are there and keep to the character. You also can see we have the nice, you know, double rail fence, which was the classic, and you can see that throughout Remsenburg. We also were hoping to get the chimney restored, although at this point the chimney would really be a faux chimney. And unfortunately, like I said earlier, it did collapse when they lifted the building to restore it and put a new foundation on. And then the other modifications are on this side. They actually just added a few windows, which is fine. They just weren't on the original restoration plans, but the front door is really in keeping. And when I was last there prior to this year's site visits, the porch had not been finished. So we are holding $5,000, and we extended that bond for the house on July 9th of this year. And then I do have and the only other deviation, which I think is quite minor, is the lighting. Sorry. I zoomed out of the wrong thing. So I just wanted to show you the lighting because I asked him for photos just to give you. The lighting is fairly historic. Let me see here, sorry. These are pictures I received, I believe, from the applicant. And then you'll see, so this is a detail of the lighting. I was concerned that they weren't dark sky compliant, although as you can see from the picture, they are very low wattage. So this is what you see at night. They're not causing any light trespass, and as you can see, they don't spread too much light upward, and they do meet the residential design code for the lighting code. So those were the amendments that they're requesting, and the only thing is I was hoping to get plans for you just so you could see them on paper, but he wasn't able to get Fred Thoreau to get them for this meeting, and he's just going to submit them as a condition of approval. So I just wanted to go over all of the different minor adjustments that were made.
Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
Very thorough, very nice report. Any questions or discussion on it? If not, can I have a motion?
Is anybody gonna live there, or is it just?
Actually, when I was there, actually to confirm the shutters were put on, I was there on Tuesday, and actually the contract vendees were actually there walking the property with the developer. So they are basically ready to purchase the lot once these amendments are done and basically memorialized by the planning board. And then the C of O will be issued, and they are, you know, in contract to purchase directly thereafter.
Oh.
I thought you were going to move in, Jackie.
I wish.
He worked hard enough on it. So a motion to accept the amendments?
Yeah. Amend the restoration plans.
Amend the restoration plan, motion by Zuccarelli, second by Robin, all in favor. Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Okay, and then moving on to Firestone Holdings. Jackie, that's you.
Yes. So on that one, it should be John Borquin that's available. If you could let him in, Charles. Just give me a moment to share.
Say it again.
John Borquin should be available. Thank you.
Jackie, my note to myself is there was no report in the packet we got.
Oh, you know what happened? The same report for Blessing Fields got attached. I'm not sure how that happened. So I am sorry about that, but I do have a full packet here for you. I'm not sure why Blessing Fields was attached twice, if it was my mistake or just a minute track glitch, I'm not sure. So this is the property. Charles, was John Borquin available?
Yes, he's coming in.
Okay.
Good afternoon, members of the board, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon. This is John Borgwin on behalf of Wayne Bruin, O'Shea Marson Bruin, 250 North Sea Road, Southampton, on behalf of applicants.
Great. So planning board, you can see my shared screen with the aerial. Okay, great. Great. I'm not sure why I was having difficulties before. So if you'll see, this is 70 Meeting House Road. So this is one of the last vegetated and wooded parcels in the area. I actually worked on 489 Montauk Highway here as well, which provided a buffer in the back. So with this plan, we are looking at a 3-lot plan. This is the plan that the applicant prefers, which it gives a larger building envelope. And I actually, after reviewing this in detail, I don't have any objections to this because the lots in the back, if the planning board also finds it appropriate, will still be 28,000 each, which will provide, as you can see, a very sufficient building envelope for the principal structures. And this is, I'm sorry about the rotation. Let's see if I can rotate it. Oh, wrong way.
I do that all the time.
All right, so if you'll see, this is the one that would conform with the flag lot plan. And you can see they're very similar, although look how small the building envelope is for lot 1, which is the road fronting lot. You know, and they cannot choose their front yard. This is their front yard. So you can see this is a triangle, whereas the previous one, oh, now it's all changed there. As you can see on the previous one, we just, you know, it widens the building envelope by approximately 25 feet, which gives them much more sufficient room for a principal structure.
Makes better sense.
Yeah. All right, so this is the report, and I'm sorry that it was not attached. But it's fairly simple. So this is in the R20 zoning district. This is a 3-lot at 70 Meeting House Road. This is the description in the requested action. Standard SECRA is type 2, so no further environmental review is required. We did waive the planned residential development requirement because the surrounding properties are developed and there's no adjacent open space. I did say that we preferred the standard plan prepared by Nate Corwin, which has the additional area for lot number 1. Oh, actually, I think it's lot number 3. Sorry about that.
Great.
And yeah, and then also that it meets the criteria for minor subdivision, so it can go straight to final, and it is in conformance, although the Quaog area is not stated within the comp plan. It does say outside of the East Quaog area to have bolster and have new residential to the east and west of the center. So this is just past Quaog and East Quaog. With the town's analysis of park resources, we did not think it was sufficient to have an on-site park, so we are recommending that there be a park fee. The park fee for this area is $16,225.01. So for the 3-lot subdivision, it would be a total park fee of $48,675.03 times 3 lots. We did have public hearing on July 9th, and we did have public hearing comments received. It was actually from the parcel to the north, who is the owner of both lots in the 489 Montauk Highway subdivision. So they were concerned about the height of the structure. The planning board essentially, you know, answered the questions that this is a 3-lot subdivision and that the residences would have to maintain 32 feet maximum height, and also described to the applicant that there would be side yard setbacks that he would be, you know, basically impacted by. And the that owner did not seem to have any other questions other than those basic questions. Fire prevention had standard comments with driveway safety and to provide addresses for all lots. West Hampton Beach Fire District, July 8th, 2020, also stated that they have no objections to the above request. The town engineer did provide detailed comments on the common driveway plans, so those will be reviewed at the final application stage. So this really just talks about whether or not you know, how big the driveway will be, what the drainage is, base course, etc. And they did say that this will need a Speedy's general permit. Because of the construction of the common driveway in the houses. So that will be prepared at final application stage. The Conservation Board did state that this is definitely a heavily wooded vacant property, and it's also in between Aspetuck and Quantuck Creeks, which are tributaries to Quantuck Bay, and recognize the South Shore Estuary Reserve, and that it's in the town's high priority area. So these structures will all be required to do the new innovative IA systems. They also spoke to the alternative plans, which reduces the size and in order to create a larger lot which fronts on Meeting House Road. So they're just basically referencing that. And that again, it is in the high priority water quality zone. So they will need to indicate the installation of on-site treatment water systems. Also number 4, they did state that they are requesting a 40-foot conservation easement or covenanted natural buffer on the northern portion of the lot. And that would adjoin the buffer on 489 Montauk Highway subdivision. And also creating a future, they also asked, for a buffer on the western side, I believe, which would buffer the parcels to, I think they meant to the west. I think they wrote that. And this is the 30-foot conservation buffer, which we can discuss. I do not have the roadside buffer as part of my recommendations, but we can discuss that as we go further on. And then I did just want to let you know that I just today got the Trails Advisory Board comments, which said there was no trail implications at this property. So with that, I am recommending number 1, that the planning board recommends the 3-lot plan with the larger, essentially building envelope for lot 3 of the road fronting lot. I am recommending that there be a 40-foot naturally vegetated non-disturbance buffer on the north, and then asking for a 20-foot wide natural vegetated non-disturbance buffer along the common driveway. So that would actually be, let me show you the map again. So I was requesting 40-foot, same as Conservation Board on lot 1 here, and then a 20-foot buffer here, and then hoping that common driveway can be designed within this 20-foot flag strip here to access the lots. There are historic homes, there are existing homes here, as you can see, that would be impacted by the subdivision. So just trying to provide a larger buffer to the north and then a way essentially for wildlife to navigate out. When I was there, I did witness lots of evidence of, native wildlife. I found what looked like a fox skull. It was just very heavily wooded, and you can tell that the animals are definitely taking advantage of this one last piece that is not developed. So I just wanted to show you to visualize the buffer here and then running down this flagpole here. Let me get back to the recommendations. I also did, the applicant's request was to have a single common curb cut and then 2 driveways essentially for one, so 2 and 3, serving as a common driveway and a separate driveway. I am recommending to reduce the amount of asphalt to have just 1 common driveway service all 3 lots, which is customary. And the rest are pretty standard compliance with engineering, stating that it's in the town high priority area, so new IA systems will be required to provide street numbers, driveway safety, and to have health department approval. And I did want to note, John actually pointed out, I'm sorry, this is a copy and paste error, that there was a lot width requirement, but there is no need for that. These parcels all meet lot width requirements. Sorry, that's just a copy and paste issue.
Jackie, you have no road front buffer in lot 1, right?
I don't. I did want to discuss it for the board with the board. It is a nice wooded area along Meeting House Road. Although I just wanted to discuss that with the planning board,
And given the size of the lot, just, firsthand experience the realities of trying to maintain a buffer with you have water, gas, and electric being trenched through that area. I don't think there would be much left.
Yeah,
septic.
It would be nice, but this is the wooded character of the area, and then there is a church across the street, which does provide, right now it has the wooded character along the southern portion of the road. And like you said, Dennis, unfortunately, roadside buffers tend to be the ones that get encroached upon the most. So I was trying to at least make for a wildlife corridor and a larger buffer.
If it were a larger lot, I think there'd be an opportunity, but especially with the septic going right out in the front, it's just when you bring the fill out of there, it just destroys the understory.
Are there any substantial trees worth looking at or saving?
I didn't really, it was very thick forest, but I didn't notice too many larger size trees. If you'd like, though, we can add them to note them. As I was walking around, there were some pitch pines, and then there was existing oaks, and it really did have a healthy understory. And interesting for this area, it actually had a lot of mountain laurel, a lot of large mountain laurel, and which is why I was asking for a buffer in the north. There's a lot of very, very old, mature mountain laurel in the northern portion. There does look like there was actually, it's very old, but there does look like there was a winding driveway that might have served an old shed or maybe an old cottage, but there's no structures on the property now. So there was an old, when I walked the property, there was an old, like 2-tire track, dirt driveway, with like an old like chain across the driveway, but there was no evidence of any other structures. But Jackie, if you'd like, we can ask for them to show larger caliper trees.
Yeah, but I mean that it might be useless if they're going to just, they're going to go in and build 3 houses. I'm just afraid we're going to lose all the vegetation other than what we've indicated on a buffer.
Well, the buffers are good. I mean, I think Jack.
The buffers are,
yeah.
It would really be nice to, even if we had low mountain laurel in the front, doesn't have to be something green that.
Yep.
Mountain laurel is actually, I mean, that's an enhancement. I can't see the people removing good vegetation. Oftentimes they try to work around the really valuable vegetation. I don't think it's something we have to impose on the mat.
Okay.
I like the buffers Jackie put on the side and the back though.
Yeah, the side and the rear would be good.
Yeah.
I agree. And then I know John is here, so if he has any questions, or does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, because this is a common driveway, do we need a maintenance agreement, or is that something that we?
Yes, so what we generally do is we describe the common driveway easement, and then the common driveway and utility easement does have a split for all property owners to have a shared maintenance agreement. So it's kind of combined. So it's the easement, which is the meets and bounds. It provides that for access and utilities. And then it also describes that all future improvements will have a equally shared maintenance agreement for however many lots are sharing it. So in this case, 3. So they all have equal share.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And if I may, I just have 2 quick points to bring up, Ms. Fenlon. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes, we generally, I've looked over the pre-app report with my clients, and generally we are okay with virtually everything there. Only 2 large points that we want to bring up. On the north side, we understand the request for a buffer, and we understand the desire to have a wildlife corridor and to have a scenic separation, if you will, from neighboring properties. Our client's concern, though, is that a 40-foot wide buffer at the very northerly part of Lot 1 would begin to encroach, or would even actually encroach on the building envelope for that lot. Because as you can see, I'm not sure if you can zoom in on Lot 1 there, we only have a 20-foot side yard.
Let me see if I can.
On that lot.
Let me see if I can zoom in. Hold on one second. Ooh, too much. So here's
So we were wondering if it would be possible for the board to consider maybe making that proposed buffer 20 feet just to match that setback. Because at 40 feet, you'd be encroaching 20 feet further into the building envelope of Lot 1.
So what the board could consider is this is the minimum side yard on the north, and then this is essentially the maximum. It doesn't mean that a house will be built that close, but we could essentially ask that the applicant flip the 25 maximum and the 20. So this would be 20 and this would be 25. The board could also consider, since this will be a buffer, we could ask that this 20-foot buffer be increased along here to, maybe 25, and then join up with a 25. And that way it would not infringe upon the building envelope.
We would, yeah, my client could entertain such a proposal. Our concern is just, crouch is too much of a buffer on that northerly lot line would affect the buildability and the lot envelope size, or the building envelope size of Lot 1. And being that there already is, as you can see at the close-up there, the 25-foot buffer on the 49 Montauk Highway property just to the north of that, if you add another 20 feet on that, you have 45 feet of trees and woodlands up there. So that would kind of accomplish the concept of adding a buffer.
So what had you recommended, Jackie? You recommended 40.
I recommended 40. Yes.
So we would be giving them 15. We'd be giving up 15.
Yeah, so you could ask them to flip the side yards essentially, because those are not written in stone. They get to choose, or the planning board could mandate that the 20-foot side yard setback be here and that the 25 be there, and that way this could be a buffer. And then since I was recommending 20 here, we could ask that that be opened up and provide for 25, so that you essentially have 25 on the north and on the west. And then that 25 would then give us a clear 50 between this buffer and this buffer, even though they're separate properties.
Yeah, got it. That's a decent solution. Yeah.
Okay.
And what was your other large point?
My second point is bringing up the buffer on the westerly side of the property. Again, my client understands the concept of the buffer and the need for some screening and for a wildlife corridor. Our only concern is that if we have a 20-foot buffer there, we wouldn't really have enough room, or we'd have a very narrow space to put in drainage structures, utilities, and the driveway itself. I know, Mr. Finnerty, you brought up the matter of utilities and drainage and septic, what have you. So we would be wondering if we could ask for a 15-foot buffer for the driveway corridor to allow for more room to add those improvements along the driveway.
Well, the utilities are subsurface, are they not?
They are. They would be installed underground.
Yeah. So
my concern is once it's 15, it doesn't truly serve its purpose. And if we can keep it the full flag strip, then generally no one ever touches it, because that is not needed for access. It's clearly somebody else's property, and then it's buffered. So, and once you reduce it beyond 20 or 25, it really doesn't serve as much of a buffer or screening for adjacent residences, and it becomes very thinned out, so it doesn't achieve the habitat and screening goals that we're trying to achieve here.
Yeah, remember the utilities go. There's plenty of width in the utilities for this electric and water separation and gas.
Yeah.
The septic, this isn't served by sewers, so all the septic is contained within the body of the lot. So I think you can still hold that 20-foot buffer, as Jackie said, and get all of your activity in underneath the driveway of, I guess it's lot 2.
I mean, and they have provided the 20-foot wide for each. So, I mean, I have seen, this is going to be a 14 or 16-foot wide driveway. When we look at the common driveway plan at the final application stage, if anything's a little tight, we approve so many 20-foot common driveway easements that it definitely is feasible, and it would essentially run up here to service this lot. If there was any issues with utilities, what we could do is we could just carve off maybe like a 5-foot portion to allow for utilities to just go along the western edge of lot 3 and just continue that 25 feet up if necessary, or even just have it 25 here and then whittle down to 20, depending on how the drainage is designed, which would give suitable access for the utilities and for the drainage separation needed.
You can fit the utilities. What kind of? I'm not envisioning drainage in that driveway, Jackie. It's pretty flat there.
There usually is like 2 drainage structures for something like this. It is relatively flat though, but usually when it's an area of this large, there's usually 1 drainage structure in this region, and then there's usually 1 by the mouth of the driveway to reduce any impacts onto the town road.
Okay, so
there usually is some drainage required. I do think we can fit it in 20. Sorry, Jackie.
Can we make those changes then and just?
Sure. So I'll say 25 to the north and west on lot 1.
Right.
And then we'll keep the 20-foot buffer, and we'll make the recommendation that the common driveway easement shown on the final map can be widened if necessary.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're staying with the 20-foot buffer along the flagpole, correct?
And then reducing the northern and western buffer. Well, the western buffer is getting slightly larger, and the northern buffer is being reduced down to 25.
Okay, I will relate that back to my clients, and we can discuss.
Okay.
And also, you mentioned the possibility of possibly having a notch, if you will, in lots 2 and 3 for any possible drainage.
So when you drop the final application plans, the common driveway easement will be shown in this area, essentially. If
Yes.
you need to widen it a little bit, you can widen it essentially along the western portion of Lot 3, which will really have no true impacts on the development of Lot 3. It'll just allow for a little bit wider room if we need any drainage or utility separation.
Understood. Understood.
But most likely you can fit it all in the 20, so.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we're adopting this report with those changes, Jackie?
Yes, I can make those changes, yes.
Motion to adopt the report.
Motion by Dennis, second by Robin, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Okay, Jackie, you've got Blessing Fields.
Yes. Is Lisa Poyer in the waiting room?
No. InterScience.
Oh,
She's InterScience.
She is InterScience, yes.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Okay, I'm just pulling up the renderings for you. Okay. And then we'll just share screen. Give me 1 minute. All right. Is everyone able to view the area for Blessing Fields? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you can see here, this is a long skinny parcel. This is at 163 West Montauk Highway. This is directly across from the Macy's Shopping Center in Hampton Bays. And you'll see the intersection with 24 and Montauk Highway right here. I'm sure you guys are all familiar. So with this, we do have a site plan. The site plan is for 2 offices in the new front building. So there's the 2,180 square foot office building with 2 offices. And then in the rear to basically those offices are supporting 2 special tree contractor uses in the 4,000 square foot building. And just so you know, there is 2 mezzanines proposed of 1,000 square feet each in the 4,000 square foot special tree contractor building. And we did work with the applicant previous to the submittal to get the renderings and architecture in keeping, even though this is not in the Hampton Bays corridor study area. It's just, just right outside of it. So we did ask the applicants to explore the recommendations for the downtown corridor study for architectural. So we basically asked them to combine kind of a barn style approach of the architecture, as well as like kind of a maritime, kind of like warehouse feel. So you can see here, and this is the special tree contractor building, which is pretty standard architecture. So this is the rendering that they produced, which is an improvement to what's there now. They are moving the access slightly over, and this is another rendering. So this would be the side access, which leads to the parking in the back. And this is, if you recall, this is the summer activities building. So this is what's there now. And you can see this driveway is slightly to the west. They're going to relocate it slightly to the east. Did somebody have a question?
No.
Oh, sorry, I'll continue. Okay, so these 2 structures are being removed and demolished, and this is the rear of the site. So just getting to my report, my summary is in the beginning, just kind of reiterates what I just went over. This is a 49,000 square foot property in the zoning district. It is an unlisted action because of the size of the structures. And so I'll get to it. We are recommending that a traffic impact study or traffic analysis be prepared at the final application stage, just because I want to make sure. I think this site benefits right now informally from the Macy's traffic light, although I want to make sure that that signalized intersection will be responsive to people entering and exiting this site. And then just asking the applicant to provide that traffic analysis for ingress and egress, sorry about that, and Suffolk County Public Works regarding the light and the curb cut to make sure that the curb cut can be approved in that location, and to make sure that the signalized intersection does interact with this parcel as well.
Jackie, that on the traffic, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Sure,
but
it's
on
okay.
traffic, I think the Hampton Bays Jitney, does it stop also when it's going eastbound? Does it stop there?
I know when it's going westbound, I've seen it stop. I haven't
Those
seen it stop.
westbound, it stops outside of the Macy's, shopping area.
Yeah. Mhm.
Sometimes on the westbound, and it gets very dangerous, it stops when it's going eastbound. It will stop, I believe, in front of the property or a little bit to the east or west. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But it becomes very dangerous with that traffic light, with the bus, and people trying to cross and such. So I'd rather, I think we have to take a look if Hampton Bays Jitney is involved in that.
Okay. Robin, do you want me to add that to number 3 and ask maybe if a crosswalk would be?
Yeah, I don't know if the Hampton, I haven't taken the Jitney recently, so I don't know if it's still stopping there, but I think we need an inquiry.
Sure.
And because people crossing at that light, it's very dangerous.
Yeah, so I have personally witnessed it when they're heading west and the jitney pulls over and then people have parked in the Macy's parking lot and go to the bus. I haven't witnessed it going east, but we should look into that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it does still stop there.
Okay, so then it does become very dangerous for pedestrians.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna add to number 3 and just be like, because of, the Hampton Jitney, and I'll just, state it more, vaguely, but that maybe a crosswalk should be examined for that intersection. So that way there is a crosswalk. And I do know, that southern side of Montauk Highway is heavily used, the sidewalk. So, I mean, that would be a benefit. Instead of people having to cross over at the light and just kind of scurry, at least, then they would have an actual walk sign,
All right, thank you.
Or you might make the recommendation that the jitney stop be moved.
Yeah.
To a safer location, why support it with
and I
that
guess
language?
we could ask the applicant to see if that has been a formalized stop, with the Hampton Jitney, because I'm sure the Hampton Jitney has to report to where their stops are. I'm not sure to what authority, but maybe we can ask that, ask the applicant to look into whether the county has approved that as a stop, or it's become a, like a casual, we stop on the west side, and why not stop while we're heading east because you have people parked across the street.
Right.
Or why
and
does,
also, wouldn't this would be part? Yeah. This would be part of a traffic study.
Yes, that's what I thought was part of the traffic study too.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on with that, so I'll add that to number 3, that the parcel is currently very narrow, and therefore I'm just asking the applicant to provide a turning radius analysis for the large trucks, because this, I believe one of the contractors would be landscaping or construction, which, as we all know, those trucks can have add-on trailers. So I just am asking that they provide a large truck turning radius analysis on the formal site plan application stage. The next is regarding parking. So with the planning board past practices, there is the ability to vary. This is part of, and let me show you the site plan again. This is part of the Good Ground Road extension. So we have asked the applicants to provide cross-access right here. So with that cross-access, the planning board is able to vary based upon the square footage of the cross-access. And so the applicant has varied down the parking to provide 46 spaces. They might need to squeak out a 47th space, but we can review that at the formal site plan application stage. But this is a very important link to provide an east-west, as you'll see here. So what we're trying to do is, there's going to be some point where this comes out. There's plans for a possible exit here and behind these buildings. And then there's also, this was actually one of the options. And then there was another plan possibly, I think, for here. But right now we would get a built cross access that would allow for connection to the east and west. And this would come out to Springville, the Good Ground Road extension. The overall planning objective is to get out to Springville Road so that anyone visiting these businesses does not have to get back onto Montauk Highway and essentially can go out to a signalized intersection at Springville Road.
So Jackie, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that you don't, that the cross access is part of a plan, but does not come with it a waiver. parking waiver?
So we do have a plan. This is one where we absolutely have a plan.
Right, but there's no waiver. You said you were waiving parking because of that?
There is a waiver based upon the code. Actually, they referenced it on the site plan, and I did review this with Janice as well. And it would provide, in this case, it actually would provide. So when it's cross-access in between, my understanding of it is when it's cross-access between private properties for people to privately navigate, that the waiver is not always appropriate. But when it's a public cross-access easement, which that has much more authority to get out to a public road, and that basically means the public's going to be able to navigate this. And also the planning board does have, this is the section 330-100C, that allows you, based upon the square footage that the applicant is providing, it allows you to vary the amount of spaces that they could have essentially physically provided if that cross-access wasn't there. So that is my understanding of it, but I can double check that. Okay. At the formal application stage. But this would be a very important link with a plan in place for a public cross-access.
So that's 330-100C?
100C, yeah, and that bases it basically on the cross-access easement square footage, which they've given, and it waives the 7.5 parking spaces. So we're not waiving the 2/3, which the code does allow you to waive at, in some instances. You can waive essentially 33% of the parking based upon the cross-access. In this case, I do think it does meet the 300-100C, and this is intended to be a future public cross-access, which is a very important link between Springville Road and Montauk Highway. But I will double check all the legal aspects of it when we receive the site plan application. But the applicants are, yeah, the applicants are willing to provide that, and that was a very important objective that we discussed with Janice during our earlier meetings. So with that, I basically went over the parking, and there was, you know, if we could, whenever it's along the railroad, I mean, this is kind of a personal objective as well as a planning objective, but I don't know, when I'm a rider on the railroad, I really like to kind of see the natural greenery instead of the back of everyone's businesses. So this was just something that I think would be nice. Although there's not a lot of natural vegetation on there now, I think we could supplement the 15-foot buffer and basically allow for the back of that property to be screened and the future public cross-access to be screened, and to provide just a 15-foot naturally vegetated but supplemented screening buffer on the very southern portion of the property.
Is there an opportunity, Jackie, to get a street tree here?
I believe so, yeah, and we did ask, they did provide on the site plan, let me go back to it, sorry, it's all the way at the top. They did, we did ask them for street trees here and here, if you'll see. And then we also tried to work in some trees along here. And then also, just because this is essentially parallel parking, we did ask for some small landscape islands here as well. And then here as well.
Great.
That, and this would be the area that I was asking for the 15-foot wide buffer.
Makes sense.
Yep. And then, so the only thing I forgot, and I do apologize, is that we obviously will request a full landscaping plan at the site plan stage. So I am going to add that in. I'll add that in probably just before this. That will be the new 6. And then, sorry, 7, which is kind of half on this page, half on the next page, is just for the dumpsters to comply with the code and to be fully fenced with evergreen screening as possible. They have provided evergreen screening around the, I guess it would be northern. So they have evergreen screening around here, and it's fenced. I would ask, and they did provide evergreen screening along the side of the building here, but I would ask that this be continued as well. This is the Riverhead Building Supply site, which is just to the west. You know, so it'd just be nice. This is actually kind of grassy and treed right here. Just be nice so that we screen that from the west as well.
What is to the very rear of the building?
Long Island Railroad.
No, is it grass? Is this a grassed area?
Oh, this area?
Yeah,
it's an informal. Here? Yeah. Oh, this is proposed gravel.
Yeah, and in the back?
This is gravel as well, I believe.
So that could provide a turning radius.
Yes. Yeah. So that's why we're asking them to come in and show that a vehicle can safely turn around.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, you're welcome.
Becky, last question about signage. Is there any street signage or is it building signage?
That is actually usually up to the applicant, whether or not they want us to review the signage at the formal site plan application stage. I always say we're going through everything already with the ARB and we can review the signage, and the location is shown on the site plan. So I always think it's a good idea, although sometimes they don't know exactly what they want, but this is where the sign is proposed and it is in a conforming location. We discussed that early on with the applicant, and I believe they're showing some form of monument sign, but just a sign.
Yeah.
I think it just says sign right here now, but we can encourage the applicant to bring in the sign design, and you know, they always show the location on the plan, but they don't always have the exact design. So if that's something that the planning board likes at the site plan application stage, you can ask that all signage be referred back to this board. Because if they get a C of O before the sign, they can actually apply just for a sign permit.
I think that's a good idea because I think we had a problem with some beautiful buildings that ended up with signage on it that we weren't happy with.
All right, so I'll make that to provide a sign design at this formal site plan stage, and that the planning board, in case they don't, the planning board will review all future signage.
I think that's a good idea. Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome. Okay. And we're almost done here. Let me just get back to the report. And then just this is a finding about the architecture, that it is in keeping with the goals and objectives of the Hampton-based corridor study, and that they'll submit full architectural elevations at the final application stage for the ARB, and that it's an unlisted action. So we will have to do SECRA on this prior to deem it complete, and that we're asking for a photometric plan to make sure it's dark sky compliant. And we did not receive, this is at the end of the pre-submission report, we did not receive any comments on this application during the pre-submission conference or within the written comment period.
Good. Thanks, Jack.
And
Lisa, do you have any questions?
No, no questions right now.
Okay. Any other questions on the board? If not, can I have a motion?
Yep, I have one, sorry.
Bill? Yep.
The mezzanines, are they office spaces?
No, they're going to be overstock storage for materials for the contractors.
I
So
believe
you have more usable storage downstairs for immediate, and then the longer term storage for, you know, insulation, batting, etc. for the contractor will be stored up there.
So it's kind of like a loft.
Right. The office uses for those two contractors are going to be up in the main building, in the front building.
And the only access are stairways. There's no elevator or any.
So hopefully it's not too heavy.
Better keep it.
Or I guess you could just use a forklift, you know.
Yeah.
So if you have a high level forklift, you can just.
I got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Move it.
Motion by Robin, second by Glorian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
Okay, Peconic Paddler, number 16, Anthony, that's you with a conditional approval. You sent us the report. Thank you very much.
I did. Which is strange, it's not attached here. Hold on one second. If you just bear with me.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get a cute dog for your screen.
All right. Now you can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So everyone's familiar with Peconic Paddler. We did the staff report at the last meeting, which went through all of the site plan issues, went through all of the referral comments. So we went through them. And as I said, I would have the resolution of approval for this meeting. There's 2 parts to it. The first part here is the wetlands permit. The second part of it is the site plan approval. So I'm just going to go through the resolution since we did the report last time. And I make note of the staff report in here dated August 13th, 2020. The first resolution is for the wetlands permit, which is required for this application. On the first couple of pages here, these general conditions here, the first 1 through 10 are actually just the legal language associated with the resolution of approval for all wetlands permits. And then the special conditions, which I'll go on here, the first, someone say something? Okay. The first group of condition permit relate to site plan changes. These site plan changes, which we went over last week, were taken directly from the Conservation Board comments. We've incorporated all of them into the approval. Some of these have probably been addressed already. For example, this first one here talks about the test hole cross-sectional views, which have actually been provided. So some of these actually may have already been addressed, but I've incorporated them since we really haven't had a subsequent review since the maps were submitted. So we have the changes here per the wetlands permit. We're dealing with the cross-section details given the proximity to the groundwater. If watering is proposed, they would need to indicate a dewatering plan, which is largely subject to DEC approval, which we don't really get too much into. The septic system needs to be shown on the plan. This is about fill. So if feasible, they would like to eliminate the little bit of fill and grading that they're doing on the property, and in favor of elevated on foundations or retaining walls. So we'll see what the engineer comes up with that recommendation. Mechanical equipment, again, cross-section details for the subsurface drainage structures, a 10-foot wide non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer, access to the waterfront promenade, some additional screening between the boat storage area and the park. So we've incorporated those. The construction shall strictly conform to the stamped approved plans. They'll need to submit a declaration of covenants for the 10-foot wide non-disturbance buffer shown on the plan. And the project will utilize an innovative alternative on-site wastewater treatment system. So those would be the conditions associated with the wetlands permit. And then the second part is the site plan approval, which also has a bunch of conditions. Changes to the site plan, so compliance with the requirements of the town engineer per their memo from August 3rd. Compliance with the requirements of the Suffolk County Department of Public Works per their memo dated December 2nd. And all of these were incorporated into the staff report. Compliance with the requirements of the Office of Fire Prevention per their memo from December 17th of 2019. Compliance with the requirements of the Southampton Town Conservation Board per their memo dated November 20th, as may be applicable and as outlined in the wetlands permit approval. So in this case, conditions were, as I just showed you, were outlined in the wetlands permit component, so they're in there twice. This one is another, it's the same one as they had previously, but it's for the IA system. It says here, if the proposed snack shack requires running water, it would require an IA system that has to come out, that should be in there, and provide dumpster enclosure and screening detail on the site plan. Changes to the lighting plan, the mounting height shall be limited to 10 feet from natural grade to the lowest light emitting part, and the detail shall be shown on the lens. The lighting plan shall show that the color temperature doesn't exceed 3000 Kelvin, and the wall mounted and pole mounted fixture locations need to be clearly shown in compliance with the code, and the specific design details for each shall be provided. They do provide all the details, but it's a little confusing which is actually the wall mounted and which is the pole, because they don't have it all on there, so we're just asking for that information to be provided. Changes to the landscaping plan, again, the wetlands non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer needs to be shown on the plan. The landscaping plan, again, the additional screening between the boat storage and the park. The landscaping plan just needs to be augmented a little bit with some additional plantings, and we listed some of the native species that the Conservation Board laid out. The little linden street trees that they show, I'm just recommending, they're beautiful trees, but I'm just recommending something different. We're very close to the traffic circle there. I'm just concerned about the potential line of sight distance. Those trees have very low canopies, so I'm recommending something like a red maple. Changes to the building elevations and floor plans, just that they have to submit the final elevations with all the design details and materials and colors per what was approved by this board and the ARB. The general conditions of the approval, which are all standard, signage subject to approval, screening of HVAC systems, no public address and sound system, outdoor amplification, no dusk to dawn lighting fixtures, no additional lighting without planning board approval. All lighting shall be shielded downward and be dark sky compliant. Attain all permits required from the town highway department, and it should say the DPW. I'll make that change as well. Pre-construction meeting with the town engineer. Conditions prior to signature. Submission of New York State permits as may be necessary, and I just listed the ones that the DEC indicated may be required, so they have to secure those. Submission of the engineering review fee, submission of a filed notarized affidavit indicating compliance with the site plan conditions, and then submission of 6 sets with the conditions affixed to each sheet for signature. And then for prior issuance of a CO, we need a maintenance bond for the landscaping for a period of 2 years. And I believe that covered everything.
Anthony, one question.
Sure.
We know for a fact that there's going to be a restaurant here. So do we have any conditions about that that has to meet health department?
Jackie, you cut out there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We know there's going to be a restaurant. And so do we have to state at all about that it has to comply to the health department standards? Should that be included? They have to have health department approval in order to submit their application to the building department. So we typically don't put it in there. But I have no objections if you want me to put something in there. That's not a problem. I just found that there was no reference to the restaurant, so, and they are having a restaurant, so.
Yep.
Maybe we should.
So yeah, I'll put something in there. I'll put them under the general conditions for compliance with the health department as it pertains to restaurant use and seating.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions from the board?
Is anyone here, Anthony, representing Peconic?
The engineer might have been here. I don't know if they had any questions. But I did go over it with the applicant, who seemed to indicate everything was okay. So.
Okay, so we don't have someone in the waiting room?
Tyler Fox is the only person.
Tyler Fox?
No, I don't believe so.
No?
Yeah, I'm letting them in now.
Oh, okay.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hi. Do
Yeah, my name.
Do you want to speak to this application at all, Peconic Peddler?
No, I think Anthony explained it very well. Again, my name is Tyler Fox from JM2 Architecture in Farmingville. No, we have no objection and no comments.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? If not, can I have a motion to accept this report? Very thorough report from Anthony.
Motion.
Motion by Robin, second by
Second.
Dennis. There you are. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor. Thank you, Anthony.
Okay, yeah, just remember number 18, we already did, so we won't do that one.
Right.
Okay.
So we have 17, NSHOA Realty Group. Matthew?
Yep, Nishoa. This is one of Claire's. I'm shepherding through for her. Just share the screen. This is in connection with the maintenance bond of this property. It is at 640 County Road 39. The planning board did require a maintenance bond for the plantings in the sum of $1,333. Claire has gone out and done an inspection, finds everything to be acceptable, so she's recommending that the bond is released.
Is this next to the golf?
It is.
Right? Okay, that's kind of what I thought, but
That's the golf right there.
yep.
The cancer center.
Treatment center. Yep.
Yep.
What's the
Motion.
What's the tennis courts behind it?
It's associated with this as far as.
Condos.
Yep. With those condos.
I'll move to release the bond. Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by Robin. All in favor? Opposed, abstentions? Do we have 7 here? Yes, 7 in favor. We've done 18. We have 3, just to acknowledge, 3 signatures, 20 Riverly LLC.
Yep, that was Claire's, Jackie. That's been signed with Phil's permission using his stamp.
Okay.
Yep.
And what about number 20, West Hampton Country Club?
Same story.
Same thing. We are acknowledging that. And 21, Christopher Mead.
Christopher Mead is mine. That's the at construction, in which it's a modification when they swap the barn and the parking. That's been signed with Phil's permission as well.
Okay, so everything, we've done everything.
Everything's done.
Great.
And no night meeting.
So we're not meeting again until September 10th.
Yep.
Everybody, thanks. Thank everybody. Thank the staff.
Happy
Thank
Labor Day.
Charles.
Safe
Have a
Labor
good
Day.
Labor Day weekend.
Safe one.
See you.
Safe Labor Day.
Everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Bye, everyone.
Motion to adjourn? No?
No, motion to adjourn. Second.
Second, third, and fourth.